Hello everyone, my name is Jeanette Camping from Henry Stewart Events, and I'd like to welcome you to our latest webinar, From Storage to Storytelling, DAM and the Generative AI Revolution, sponsored by Bria. It's great to see such a global audience of DAM professionals joining us today. There will be time during the session dedicated to Q&A, so please send in your questions at any time on your GoToWebinar panel. And we are recording today's webinar, and you'll all be sent a link to the recording later. Now I'm delighted to welcome today's speaker, Yair Adato. Thank you very much for joining us, and over to you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Yair. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Bria. And I think that today we will discuss the Generative AI Revolution, how it's going to impact the visual communication, how it's going to impact the DAM industry, and how it's going to probably change the way we think about creative or production value chain. So I will start by talk really high level for a few minutes about what is generative AI and why it's a revolution of AI and not evolution. And then we will give two examples of how we can use generative AI today in enterprise grade, something ready to use in search with no labels, with no keywords, and with the ability to reduce complexity in the creative supply chain by repurpose the assets. And then at the end, one slide of how the future might look like. Please free to send questions. We will stop in several places to answer them. So let's start by explaining what is generative AI. It seems that in the last 2 months, everybody talking about generative AI and that it's doing
AI image generators. There are a number of them out there now, like DALL-E, Crayon, and Midjourney. With each one, you simply type in a text prompt, and it'll create images for you in around a minute. So, for instance, you might type in, let's say, a roast beef superhero. Now, what does that look like? Is it a superhero made of roast beef? Is it a superhero that saves roast beef? Is it both? I have no idea, but here's what Midjourney's AI created based on that phrase. And I have to say, well played, robot. There's the fantastic roast beef superhero logo, the mild-mannered roast beef hero with legs for arms and no lower body, the headless roast beef hero holding a roast beef cane of justice, and the helmet-wearing America-shaped cut of roast beef that appears to have taken a shit on the floor. All four of those images are now my favorite roast beef superheroes. Marvel, if you're watching, there's phase 5 of the MCU right there.
So I think that it's amazing. The ability to generate visual that was not there before is amazing. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. In the next 2 or 3 years, we will see more and more technology that generate many types of data, and it will become the standard of many industries. So let me try to explain what is the difference, and here is the difference in the context of computer vision. In the classical computer vision AI, we were able to do recognition. We can say that this is a raccoon. Maybe we can remove a background or to do some smart cropping. In the generative AI, we can generate visual that was not there before. So we can take the raccoon and replace the background, and the raccoon on this forest is synthetic. The raccoon is real, but the background is synthetic. We can completely change the aspect ratio by adding more pixels, or we can even generate something completely from zero, the raccoon in space. So the classical AI, the one that we all familiar from the last 10 or 20 years, usually says something about the data. It can give you recommendation on the movie in Netflix. It can recognize a raccoon and create labels and keywords in a visual. It can give you a prediction of what will happen in the marketplace or recommend, but it's always on the data, on the existing data. It's never changed the data. Generative AI is completely different beast. Generative AI generate a new type of data that was not there before. It can be on visual, it can be on text. So for example, in the top right bottom, you see a blog that I generate almost completely automatic with a company called Anyword. And the text here is generated by a computer. Generative AI technology can help entrepreneurs and marketers like you be more efficient and effective at what you do. The purpose of this blog post is to explain how exactly the technology works. I didn't write it, a computer wrote it. So it's a completely different approach for AI. How does it work? How can we teach a computer to generate something that was not there before? Let me try to explain and give you maybe very high level 3 examples. So here is the first example. It's called Generative Adversarial Network. You can use it to generate an object, faces, background, anything basically. And the idea is that you take a real image and you run it into the machine, and the machine detects that this is a real image. Great. Now the machine tries to generate a synthetic one, and it's not a real, and it detects that it's synthetic. It's not good, but it used the definition of good and not good to continue and try to improve the faces until the face is good enough to pass the machine. So in a way, the machine trained itself by using real images and synthetic images, and it continued to train itself until it can no longer detect the difference between synthetic and real one. This is one example. Here's another example, maybe from the latest few months. We can take a visual, this cat is real, we can take a visual, we can add noise to the cat, more and more and more, until we cannot even recognize that there was a cat before. The machine will learn how to add noise to an image. And then when we want to generate a new visual, for example, a dog, we will start with the noise and slowly do the otherwise direction, removing the noise from the image until we will have a dog. So the nice thing in these two examples is that we have a machine, an AI machine, that know how to teach herself to generate new visual. The last example is actually quite cool. You can also generate text, like the text I show you from the Anyword example. And if you generate text and you can also understand the visual, you can put the text and the visual on the same domain. So in this example, the sentence, the text, artists working in a studio is a blue point someplace, and the visual that you see here is a red point somewhere. And now you can create something new from this space. For example, if you type a new type of blue point, for example, artists working in a studio while wearing a red dress and stupid hats, then you will have a new red dot, and then you can generate a new visual. This is basically what all of the algorithms mentioned at the beginning do. We are going to maybe a word before we will give some concrete examples of what we can do with generative AI. This technology is very powerful, and it's changed the way we think about visual or about text. No one takes these pictures that I will show you in a second, and it can be used in a not appropriate way. So it's very important when you work with this technology, when you adopt this technology, when you have a startup with this technology, to think of how to do that in a responsible way, in responsible AI. So you need to think how the input of the machines respect the copyrights and law and privacy. You need to think how to create these products for goods, and you need to make sure that the output are not deceived and they are unbiased. And this is a full topic, and if there will be a question after that, I would be happy to answer. I think that what I want to show now is two examples of how to integrate, how to use generative AI technology in product, in DAM today. Things that are really can be used today. So the first thing that I would like to show is a search, and this generative AI search is doing something which is maybe different than what you used to. It doesn't use labels. It doesn't use keywords at all. So there's no description for the visual. There's no labels for the visual. There's no keywords. You don't need to onboard this visual in a very long process. And this gives you the ability to search on the using a natural language processing or a natural language and get the results immediately. So in a way, this is a little bit similar to what Google do when they search in text, but now it's in a visual. So I try to eliminate keywords. So I will argue that keywords add a lot of complexity to the way we do visual search. And by that, not only we add complexity, we lose the context of the image. If I have an image which says duck, water, yellow, and boy, it's really hard to tell if I'm referring to a kids with a yellow coat looking on the duck on the lake, or a yellow duck at with the kids at the bath. You cannot tell. So it's not only a question of complexity, it's how to really understand what you are looking for and what the image contains. So let's talk about the search using generative AI. The first thing is that it's a natural language-based search versus keywords. You don't need the keywords. The second thing is it works in all directions. It's work from text to image, image to text, image to image. So you can create a very easily search similar, which is not depend on the color or on the labels. It's depend on the context of the image. It's accurate, it's fast, it's scalable because there is no really hard complex databases behind the scene. There is no complex queries behind the scene, and the integration and the maintenance are extremely easy. It's 1 second of upload the image or register the image, and that's it. Let me show you some example. So if we search in using the Bria generative search, I love my baby, we will get babies. And if you search I love you baby, you will get coupled, love each other. And of course, if all of your search is only by keywords, it will be really hard to understand the difference. But since we understand the language, we understand that on the right side is coupled, and on the left side, it's babies. Now again, it's not a logistic issue, it's a paradigm shift, the way you think about search. Here's another example. A person with a black cat. This is what you will get with a very popular image repository search, and this is what you get if you will use our search. The system understands black cat. The system also understands English. So under the weather is not about the weather, is about people that are not feeling well. And maybe my coolest example is in the next slide. It's also understand abstract concept like sustainability. It understands that it can be a green energy. It understands that it can be people in nature, and it understands that it can be people doing demonstration about save our planet. Again, all we need to do in order to achieve this result is to register the image, and from them it's fully automatic. This is my favorite example. It understands the cultural context of a search. So let it go in the last few years is not about let's go on a drive on a highway. It's about Anna and Elsa. And for those that don't have the kids on the right age, look, I am your father. Will give you, of course, Star Wars. Since we understand the meaning of the visual, the content of the visual, there is no limitation of illustration. So you see that the first visual appears is actually illustration. You can use that for text to image, but you can use the same search for image to image. So this is the example of the sustainability. This is live from our system. And then if we will try to search something else, when I look for something similar, I will get something similar by content, by intent, by the meaning of the visual. So enjoy the city. And if I will search someone take a photo of a city, I will take a picture of someone take photos of a city in a sunset. Today we have in production a search for photos. In a few weeks, we're also going to launch the same search for footage for up to 10-15 seconds video. How does it work? Again, you can have text to image, as we see in the beginning. You can have image to image. You can have image to text. And by the combination of all of these, we generate a search. What you see here is the output of the machine when we ask her, what do you see in the picture? So in the right one, the text generated was a beautiful young woman holding a flower. And in the left one, it's a group of people standing next to each other wearing a Christmas hat. I will pause here for a second to see if there are questions about the search.
Hi, yes, we have got a question. Someone has said, how long does it take to set up a search like this on a DAM system?
So if you want to have this setup for this search on a DAM system or on your visual repository, it doesn't necessarily must to be a DAM. All you need to do is to register the visual to the search. The process takes something as a second, 2 seconds, and that's it. There is no special training. You don't need to create a hierarchy of keywords. You don't need to do anything but to register it. Theoretically, you can run a script, upload your repository, go grab a coffee, have lunch, come back, and all of your repository is in the system, and you can start using the search.
Amazing, thank you. And also someone has said, can this system be integrated into DAM systems?
The philosophy of Bria is open garden. Everything we do is an API. You can go after that, play a little bit with the system, but the reason that we have a web tool is to see that the API is working. So the answer is yes. You can either take the API and implement it into your DAM, or you can implement it by yourself if you have your own DAM, but it's not complicated. And it's true also for the thing that I will show next. Everything is API-able.
Great. Okay. Just seeing if there's any other questions that have come through for this section. I think we can, yeah, we've just had another one through. How large of a training set do you need? And how would this work for images and video of proprietary products and models?
So we need a zero training set. This is the entire idea, that we have the ability to extract the meaning of a visual from the visual itself. If you have a very, very proprietary product, which we never saw or something like that, then we will need to think how to do it. Probably it's not too complicated, but we never, until now, we never had a case where we need to retrain the system because of specific requirements. I'm sure that there will be in the future, but for the standard repository, it's usually work.
Thank you. And then just one more in this section. Can you please give us a bit more context, history of the concept of natural language?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the best way to think of it is Google. So the revolution that Google did in the web is that you are no longer search by catalog. This is what we have when we search, when we browse the internet before internet. We have all kind of catalog, and there was hierarchy, and I go for gaming, and gaming I go to arcade, in arcade I go to the Super Mario. And Google said, we don't need all of that. We can search with the natural language and just type what you are looking for, and we know how to rank the website according to your query. In a way, this is the same concept. We don't try to create labels. We just ask you to write what you are looking in a natural language. A beautiful young woman holding a flower in her hand.
Thank you. I think we can have some more questions towards the end. So if you'd like to send them in, that's great. Thank you.
So let's go to the second part of the presentation. The second part of the presentation, talking about what you can do today with generative AI that can help you to generate more asset, that can help you to repurpose asset. And the key word here is at scale. So we try to give the ability for the DAM user or for the communicators to create more visual assets by themselves. And when I'm talking about visual asset, I'm talking about the full package with branding, with text, with copy, with the typography, with everything they need to have something ready to use. So the thing that you can do today, which are ready to use by a click of a mouse or by API call, is to adopt a brand or campaign guideline, easily change the asset mood. I will explain. Personal visual asset per vertical. There's no reason that the campaign for Korea and for Brazil will be the same. There's no reason that the campaign for a teenager and parents of parents of a teenager will be the same. You can do a catalog enrichment. We believe that this is really an interesting part, and you can do it by yourself. If you think about the creative as a supply chain, you don't need to go back to the designer, to the agency. You are independent to do the change by yourself. So for the brand, you can go behind editing. So you can change the brand mood, but you can also change the brand. Sorry, you can also follow the brand or the campaign definition. If you know that you are a happy international brand, you can modify automatically the asset to follow the guideline. So, for example, consider the first visual as the source. All of this visual are synthetic. So you see that the resolution and the quality is really high. You have a very good predictability of what will be the facial expression of the presenter. You can recast the presenter. You can change the background. You can change the object. You can change the thing that the presenter wearing. But the idea is that now you can generate visual that follow the brand guideline, or alternatively can help you to generate asset for different segment. So again, all the visual you see here are synthetic, and you can customize them with a click of a button. It's no Photoshop, it's no model. Just tell the system what you want and it change it for you. So here are more examples how you take an ad and from a single ad create a variation for different vertical. And you can do that in your DAM. You can do that by the communicators. You can do that by the one that need to create something for tomorrow blog. You don't need to go back to the designer or to the stock photography, find another image, see that you created. No, you just repurpose what you have. Actually, there's no point to stop here. Actually, if you can repurpose an image, if you can change the presenter, if you can replace the background, if you can replace object, you can also automatically replace the language. And you don't need layers, you don't need to find the source of the asset. You just do that on the asset itself. The thing that we can do today are everything related to the presenter. We can change the presenter facial expression. We can change the presenter appearance, age, hairstyle, hair color. We can even change the presenter itself. We can remove background and replace background. And by the end of the year, we will also be able to remove object, and then maybe you don't want the knife in the right image. The system will generate the background according to the need. The last thing that I would like to talk about is catalog enrichment. When you think about e-commerce and catalogs, the problems are even harder. The problems are even harder because now you need to understand how you do everything on scale. So what you can do by yourself with Bria in the catalog enrichment domain. So we believe that these 4 pillars are a nice way to think about catalog enrichment. The first one is enhancement. You can simply modify and find the right visual that help you to do the right e-commerce you want, the right story you want to tell. The second one is to add value, to grow. If you only have 3 visual of your product, we can generate more. We can replace the background. We can have the sofa in this room or outside, or maybe next to the pool, or maybe on the garden. It doesn't really important because you have the ability to create more from what you have. If you know the target audience, you can adapt the visual to the relevant audience, and then you can change it according to the segment. And the last one is to drive engagement. When we change in a very controllable and predictable asset, you can see the difference, to A/B test the difference between this person very smiling or this person very surprised, and see what works better for you. So here is an example. You can take the entire catalog. You can easily remove the background, but then you can easily add a new product and change the mood. So here is the one example, and here is the example for Black Friday. So when you think what generative AI can do in the future, it can really reduce complexity in the way we think about visual. It can reduce complexity because the search become much easier and more natural to use. I just use my language. I don't need to search in a very different way. The onboarding become really easy. The ability to understand context, culture become very easy. You can repurpose asset or recycle asset in a very simple way. And you just change it to according to what you need, and you can do that at scale. The scale here is the issue, and there's no skill requirements. You don't need to learn complicated Photoshop or special software for that. It's as simple as a click on a button. The entire idea is that it will be very, very simple. So I will stop. So maybe one word before I stop. When you try to see how AI impact the creative supply chain, you see the very common thing like copying, traditional editing, which is a pixel editing, doing a search with the keywords, maybe remove background. This is all a very important, impressive, but classical computer vision. If you try to see what the future might look like using generative AI, then you can do intent-based search. Then you can do brand style automatically. Then you no longer need to be limited to background removal. You can also do background replacement. Catalog enrichment is something which I think will be very easy because of the scalability of this product or our product. And you can even go and redirect the cast. An image is no longer a second frozen in time. You can go back in time and change the scene and have a new image. When you look what will come a little bit down the road, then you can also see features like camera motion or add motion in general to a still visual, object removal, which we talk a little bit, but then you can also think about object replacement and object augmentation. It's not far. It's a few months from today. Change the entire appearance of the person and video. As you can generate image from text, you can also generate video. So I will pause here and I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much indeed. We have got some questions that have come through. Someone has asked, how scalable is this solution right now? And what's the limit of images it can handle?
Luckily, we have Amazon, and luckily Amazon have a lot of server. So if every time that we have scale, we simply ask more computers from AWS. So the solution is quite scalable. The longest modification takes 3 seconds. Or the video takes 3 seconds. So it's very scalable.
Right, thank you. And someone has said, when I repurpose an asset with Bria, do I need to verify the results or is it fully automated?
The system built to be very predictable and controllable. You can control exactly the facial expression you want, or the color of the hair, or the type of the background you want. This is the controllability. And the predictability is that we know to tell you in advance that the result will be good or a little bit less good. If you want it to be fully automatic with no verification, with no man in the loop, just use the high certainty of Bria. If you want to have something which is if you are more relaxed condition, then you can do something with a less strict requirements. We recommend at the beginning to start with somebody to look at the result, just to get the trust with the system. But after that, you can simply use it with no man in the loop. The idea is not to have man in the loop.
Okay, thank you. And then we've got another question here. Does the search keyword support other languages such as Chinese and Japanese?
Oh, it's a great question. The way to add more language into the search is simply to connect more language to the language model. So we have an English language model and a Spanish language model. But if you want to have additional one, you just need to add another language, and then it's for all of the search. So if it's a language that we never worked in the past, we will need to add the language. But it's simple, almost simple as like you go to your iPhone and add a different language in the keywords. It's technical task and not require a new training.
Okay, this seems to be the last question at the moment. So if anyone does have any more, please send them in. So this is the last question at the moment. At this stage of development, can the system present a recommendation on one image treatment over another based on data, usability, performance, cultural context?
So the short answer is no, but we believe that the one that owns the image, the one that owns the mission task, is also the one that knows what works for him. And the reason that we developed that as an API is that you can plug it into your system and do the API A/B testing, or to understand which one works better for you. We support it, but the decision should be for the one that owns the business task. We are not a performance marketing solution, we are creative solution.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. So I think that was the last question. Just to let everybody know that Yair is speaking at our New York event next week, which is going to be amazing. So please do join us and come along and speak to the team. Actually, another question's just come through, if that's okay, to go to that. And that's, how does this fit into a marketing tech stack? And where would it sit in relation to DAM and PIM, etc.?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. How does it fit? How does this fit into a marketing tech stack? Where would it sit in relation to DAM and PIM, etc.?
So we believe that it can sit in at least 3 different places. One, and very natural places, is the DAM itself. The DAM can offer a better search capabilities and a better repurpose capabilities. When you manage your assets, you can also repurpose them and reuse them without going back in the supply chain. DAM, in a way, is the supply chain, so we can help them to be more efficient. The second one is, in many companies, there is a production process. If you think about agencies, if you think about other marketing departments, they have they create asset, so they can use these capabilities and tools to create things that they might not have the budget to create before, or it was too complicated to create before. Now it's become more easy to create and to use. So the second thing is in the marketing itself. And the last one, as someone mentioned before, is in the performance marketing or the e-commerce performance, where you can correlate the result of the visual to some business metrics, and then you can improve the business metrics, not by not only by improving the copy or the distribution of the campaign or the e-commerce or the ads, but also to improve the visual of the ads. And this is the last place or the third place. I'm sure that over time we'll find more, because this technology, again, it's different than what we have before, I think, my opinion.
Great. So that was the last question. Thank you very much indeed. It's been an excellent presentation, and we look forward to seeing some of you next week in New York. And please keep an eye out for our future webinars and online events. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much for hosting us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.